0.63 in 2023 from 0.61 in 2022. That translates to an improvement in life expectancy, literacy level, and decent standard of living. The Gini coefficiency in 2014 was at 0.63 and decreased to 0.60 in 2023. This indicates that the gap between high income and low income earners within our province is reducing. Honorable Speaker, the journey to improve municipal audit outcomes has been long and characterized by adverse audit opinion and disclaimers. I wish to report to this House the progress in the overall audit outcome in the province, which has shown consistent improvement over the past 3 financial years. The number of municipalities achieving a qualified audit opinion increased from 9 to 13 in the 2023 financial years, while disclaimers were reduced from 9 to 3. As we acknowledge this progress, we must reiterate the concern that when we met with the Auditor General reflected on qualified audit opinions, and it's characterized as a weak environment, and that leaders in municipalities that have qualified opinion need to change their attitude and focus on aggressive oversight and holding the administration accountable in order for us to improve this audit outcome. And a challenge was posed to us as the executive together with the Speaker, that as they listen to the State of the Province address, it will be a concern that our support to municipalities will go to these municipalities that are characterized as weak environments given the qualified audit outcome. That we must take resources of the state to institutions that are well governed in terms of performance, in terms of accountability and transparency, and that are working towards an improved audit outcome. We should not, as speakers of different municipalities, as mayors, as chief whips, and the overall oversight body, not tolerate stagnation. These positive developments, Honorable Speaker, of improved audit opinion reflects the effectiveness of the Provincial Treasury support and our commitment to strengthening financial governance and transformation in municipalities. To sustain the improved audit opinion, the province, working together with the municipalities, will implement measures to increase the number of unqualified audit opinions and address all outstanding disclaimers and adverse findings. These measures are meant to ensure that a significant number of municipalities with qualified audit opinion move to unqualified. And as a result, we have targeted Bojana La Platinum, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda District, as well as Moretele Local Municipality, to be amongst municipalities that in the next audit cycle should receive a clean audit opinion. Honorable Speaker, the support provided by Provincial Treasury, as mandated by Section 154 of the Constitution of South Africa, to support municipalities to address the historic, unauthorized, irregular, fruitless, and wasteful expenditure, has strengthened the capacity of municipal public accounts committees and other council oversight structures. The support has enabled some municipalities to write off 5.5 billion of the legacy UIFW. The Provincial Treasury remains committed to supporting municipalities in implementing strategies to reduce UIFW. We further call on all municipal council to address the challenges as it relates to the functioning of council oversight committees, as it will go a long way in addressing UIFW amongst other challenges. The stability and functionality of council has also improved. Regular council meetings, adherence to calendars, and the implementation of critical compliance resolutions are notable achievements. There are municipalities that still has challenges, and it is important that all political parties cooperate to ensure the smooth functioning of Council and recommit to the call to action by the Auditor General for all the role players in the accountability ecosystem, particularly those with direct control over service delivery, should work deliberately and with agency towards a culture of performance, accountability, transparency, and institutional integrity. Honorable Speaker, the provincial audit outcomes for the financial year which ended 31st March 2024 show improvement. 11 provincial departments and the legislature received unqualified audit opinions, with the Provincial Treasury, Arts, Culture, Sports and Recreation and the Northwest Provincial Legislature receiving a clean audit opinion. Honorable Speaker, public entities' audit outcomes remained unchanged from the previous years. 3 entities, mainly Khama Wildlife, Agribank, Youth Enterprise Services, received unqualified audit opinion with no material findings. 3 entities received unqualified audit opinion, while 6 received qualified opinions. Through the efforts of the Provincial Treasury as part of the support to entities, the Northwest Transport Investment Group has been able to submit the annual financial statements for 2019-2020 financial year, which have been outstanding for the past 4 years. The remaining outstanding financial statements are currently being prepared by the entity under the guidance of Provincial Treasury, and such statements will only be submitted post-finalization of the audit for the 2019-20 financial year. The strategic training interventions have been implemented across departments and public entities as per Section 18(2)(e) of the Public Finance Management Act. These interventions include training of all bid committees, officials drafting specifications, and internal control personnel. These efforts aim to enhance procurement and compliance and link expenditure to critical service delivery needs. Honorable Speaker, through the performance-based initiative system funding, the Provincial Treasury assisted the Department of Health and Education to acquire an additional 169.5 million to improve healthcare services and student learner outcomes in the province. Of the allocated amount, the Department of Health received 79.4 million to the department's allocation, whilst the Department of Education received 93.1 million. Honorable Speaker, the fiscal constraint and weak economic outlook have indeed created an exceptionally challenging environment for the compiling of the 2025 MTEF budget. This budget preparation required difficult choices and strategic prioritization to balance competing needs within limited resources. Despite economic challenges, the 2025 budget reaffirms our commitment to the priorities of the 7th administration, which are to drive inclusive growth and job creation, reduce poverty and tackle high cost of living, and build a capable, ethical, and developmental state. Honorable Speaker, the budget proposals that are being tabled today are aimed at responding to the medium-term development plan, which is at the center of planning for the government. The budget allocated for 2025 financial year is 55.7 billion, which is geared towards addressing the priorities of government as set out above. The provincial budget allocation grows to 56.3 billion in 2026-2027 and 58.3 billion in the last year of the 2025 MTEF. This translates to a cumulative allocation of 170.4 billion over the 2025 MTEF, which is available at the disposal of government for efforts to address the socio-economic challenges faced by our citizens in the province. The provincial budget constraint comprises transfers from national government made up of provincial equitable share and conditional grants. The provincial equitable share allocation amounts to 44.7 billion in 2025-2026, 46.1 billion in the 2026-27, and 47.6.5 billion in 2027-2028. The equitable share has been negatively affected by a 3.6 billion reduction over the 2025 MTEF because of the implementation of the adjustments due to the impact of data updates to the formula. Honorable Speaker, included in the allocation is an amount of 320 million in 2025, 340.1 million in 2026-2027, and 351.9 million in 2027-2028 to fund the 1% shortfall emanating from the salary increase settlement between labor and government. Furthermore, an amount of 81.4 million has been allocated for 2025-2026 for continuation of the Presidential Youth Employment Initiative for the Teacher Assistant Program, which will be implemented by the Department of Education. The conditional grant allocation amounts to 9.5 billion in 2025-2026 financial year and 17.8 billion in the last 2 outer years of the MTEF, which were subjected to reprioritization by National Transferring Department. The provincial own revenue amounts to 1.3 billion in 2025-2026, increases to 1.4 billion in 2026-27, and 1.5 billion in 2027-2028, reflecting an average growth of 4.5% over the MTEF. The province is making provision for a contingency reserve of 50 million in 2025-2026, 55 million in 2026-27, and 60 million in 2027-28, aim at providing emergency relief for disaster response, recovery, and mitigation at the provincial level. These funds will be held in the Provincial Revenue Fund, and departments can access them with costed implementation plan that will be subjected to evaluation. Honorable Speaker, in his State of the Province address, Honorable Lagasaos Mokhotsi, Premier of the Northwest Province, stated that SOPA sets the tone for the implementation of the medium-term development plan. Therefore, 2024 budget supports the SOPA injunction, which will be outlined in detail when members of the Executive Councils table their respective budget vote speeches in this House. Honorable Speaker, consistent with our commitment to address the infrastructure challenges, we are investing 6.6 billion in 2025-2026 financial year, and we are intensifying our effort to improve efficiency and accountability in terms of infrastructure management. Through the allocation, it is anticipated that about 5.5 temporary jobs opportunities will be created in various construction projects implemented by departments in the province. Honorable Speaker, allocation for departments and provincial legislature as follows. The provincial legislature received 522.8 million to enable legislature to conduct oversight effectively and efficiently over the executive and to promote good governance. The governance cluster, which contributes to the priority of building a capable and ethical state, consisting of Office of the Premier, Provincial Treasury, and Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, as well as the Department of Community Safety and Transport Management. The Office of the Premier is allocated 519.4 million, which is meant to facilitate integrated governance, planning, and accelerated service delivery in the Northwest Province. Of this allocation, an amount of 80 million is earmarked for information communication technology and 30 million for the Victor Sephora scheme. Allocation is meant to increase over the MTEF. For the 2025 calendar year, 150 learners will benefit from this bursary scheme. The Department of Community Safety and Transport is allocated an amount of 2.4 billion to promote community and road safety, exercise civilian oversight of police, and coordinate transport services. Included in this allocation, an amount of 140 million is set aside for scholar transport to ensure that all eligible learners receive transport to their designated schools. This allocation is also meant to facilitate efforts by government to combat crime and corruption. As part of this allocation is an amount of 749.7 million meant for the commuter bus subsidy. The department will continue with renovations at the Pilanesberg and George Dick Munsiwa Airport with allocations of 35 million over the MTF and 10 million in the first year, respectively. The Provincial Treasury's allocation is at 695.1 million to assist department in providing leadership in the management of public resources. The departmental allocation includes an amount of 100 million for the Provincial Development Fund, which is meant to be utilized as leverage for the private sector to partner with government for the implementation of economic infrastructure projects. The province, through the Premier's Infrastructure Coordinating Council, has the infrastructure project pipeline of a number of projects which require funding in partnership with private sector. We are making a call to private sector that development is a collective responsibility and that we should be partners together with communities towards a future we deserve. As we celebrate the bottom line and economic growth, our people too must grow, translated to improve living conditions, develop towns, villages and cities, where they too are active in the development and growth of the province. To enable the Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs to monitor and support local government and institutions of traditional leadership, the department received 681.8 million. Included in this allocation is 12 million for intervention at municipalities through capacity building and 60 million, which will be used to extend support to municipalities and traditional authorities. To support traditional authorities, an amount of 147 million will be allocated as part of our Traditional Institutional Administration Program budget. Honorable Speaker, as part of the additional responsibilities that arises out of the drive by the province to support building a capable, ethical and developmental state, we shall ensure that the followings are also implemented as part of the proposals being made. Fast-tracking of the filling of vacant and funded posts remains a priority for this province, and that functions will be jointly led by Provincial Treasury and Office of the Premier. As part of our effort to tighten the supply chain management processes linked to the award of bids, the Provincial Treasury will ensure that all major bids will be subjected to vetting in collaboration with state security agency. Honorable Speaker, in our effort to promote open and transparent tender process, the province will publish information of all bidders and all tender awarded to various service providers on the website. To address the information communication technology challenges in the province, an amount of 80 million is earmarked for improved in terms of our service delivery provision together with the Office of the Premier. Revenue efforts for both municipalities and provinces will be intensified. The own revenue portion is instrumental in assisting the government to fund some of the activities that are related to the provision of service delivery. To this end, the province needs to progressively work on increasing the own revenue budget as a proportion of our provincial budget to 5% as opposed to 3% of the current own revenue budget. Honorable Speaker, the economic cluster, which comprises of economic development, environment, conservation and tourism, Department of Public Works and Roads, as well as the Department of Agriculture and Rural Development, received 6.4 billion as part of this budget proposal Through this allocation, the department will drive inclusive growth and job creation. The Department of Economic Development, Conservation and Tourism provides small business enterprises with business development support services and enhanced growth and acceleration, including access to market, product development, skills development, thematical month celebration and events. To support this mandate, the department is allocated 1.013 billion. Within this allocation, an amount of 38.2 million to Northwest Development Corporation, 232 million to Northwest Parks Board and Tourism, 79.7 million for the Northwest Gambling Board. The allocation of the budget to these entities plays a crucial role in job creation. Tourism, for example, is labor intensive and provides a wide range of job opportunities, from hospitality and tour guiding to management and administration. By investing in this entity, the government will ensure that this job benefit local communities, particularly in areas where there is high unemployment rate. Honorable Speaker, the Department of Agriculture and Rural Development has been allocated 1.2 billion in 2025-2026 financial year. Included in this allocation is Comprehensive Agricultural Support Program grant, allocation of about 127.2 million to support black subsistence and distressed commercial farmers to improve access to formal and institutional markets. Included in this allocation is 10 million for food security programs and another 10 million for the Agri-Hub project, which is meant to facilitate additional funding from the Land Bank. We believe that sustainable economic practices will create sustainable employment opportunities that benefit both the environment and local communities. The Department of Public Works and Roads is allocated 4.2 billion in 2025-2026 and 7.2 billion over the MTEF to deliver and maintain quality infrastructure for sustainable growth and development in the province. This allocation is inclusive of 80 million allocated for yellow fleet, 201 million for construction of Welisizwe rural bridges, and 258.7 million for rural roads. Honorable Speaker, as part of our effort to grow the economy of the province and to create jobs through unlocking the manufacturing sector, potential, efforts are well underway to drive industrialization through the process of using government expenditure as a lever. The program will focus on growing the manufacturing sector by identification of the most procured goods by department across the province, with the aim of having the value-added activities taking place locally. Through this program, coupled together with the Contractor Development Initiative, government aims to give impetus to the drive on localization, employment, and development of small businesses. The Contractor Development Program will not only be limited to the Department of Public Works and Roads, but also relevant departments will be expected to conform and support this initiative. With the implementation of this flagship program, the province aims to unlock economic opportunities in areas where none existed before. The provincial government will also intensify its effort towards the implementation and sustainability of expanded public works program as part of the package geared towards growing the economy and creating jobs. An amount of 181.4 million has been added for Presidential Youth Employment Initiative. This initiative will enhance skills development, entrepreneurship for youth, giving them tools they need to succeed and contribute to the economic growth. The budget allocation within this economic cluster represent a holistic approach to achieving inclusive growth. Through strategic investment in small businesses, agriculture, tourism, and public infrastructure, the government is laying the foundation for long-term economic sustainability and prosperity. The focus on empowering marginalized communities, women and youth ensures that the growth achieved will be shared across all levels of society, creating an equitable and self-sustaining economy. A budget of about 44.4 billion is allocated to the social cluster departments to enable sector departments to contribute to the reduction of poverty and to tackle the high cost of living in line with the MTDP priorities. Within this cluster, the Department of Health is allocated 17 billion to render accessible, equitable and client-oriented healthcare services. The major contributor to the growth of the departmental allocation is the 5-year increase on health facility revitalization grant and the National Tertiary Services grant by 76.4 million and 94 million respectively. This will enable the department to continue to build new and refurbished old clinics. Notwithstanding the withdrawal of the United States Presidential Emergency Plan for AIDS relief by the U.S. government as part of our broader USAID donor funding, the allocation to the department includes an conditional grant allocation of 1.5 billion for 2025-2026, 4.9 billion over the MTEF, which is geared towards ensuring the uninterrupted rollout of HIV/AIDS program. Delivery of houses in the province remains our key priority. The heavy rains we have experienced in the past few months may increase housing backlog due to flooding that occurred that has compromised the integrity of some of the existing dwellings. In response to these challenges, the Department of Human State Settlement has planned to service 5,403 sites and build 3,555 housing units in the new financial year. Resultantly, the Department of Human Settlement is allocated 1.8 billion in the first year of the 25 MTEF. Included in this amount is 1.3 billion for Human Settlement Development Grant and the Informal Settlement Upgrading Partnership Grant allocation of 254 million. The allocation for the Department of Education in 2025-2026 financial year amounts to 22.8 billion. Included in this amount is 115.8 million as an increase in conditional grants allocation, of which 93.1 million relates to education infrastructure grant and 12.053 million to National School Nutrition Program grant, of which takes the total allocation to 693.6 million. Through this initiative, 3,000 youth will be employed as educators, assistants, and administration assistants at schools and in other categories at district offices. Through National School Nutrition Program, 751,847 learners in 1,319 schools will be provided with nutritious meals to enhance the culture of teaching and learning. Honorable Speaker, in our endeavor to ensure that sports, arts, and culture activities are accessible to all in the province, the Department of Arts, Culture, Sports and Recreation is allocated an amount of 776.63 million. Among others, this allocation is made as part of departmental commitment to capacitate and develop 530 arts and culture practitioners. The department will continue to support 155 structures in the creative and cultural industry. 79 cultural and creative industry platforms are to be created or organized and will also implement 120 community conversations or dialogue programs. An amount of 1.8 billion is allocated to the Department of Social Development in 2025-2026. Included in the department's allocation is an amount of 225 million for non-governmental organizations. This is to allow the department to render welfare services to the communities, including services to people with disability, as well as for implementing social behavior programs. Honorable Speaker, the second objectives of the reduction of poverty and tackling high cost of living ties in squarely with the mandate of social cluster departments and remains the responsibility of all departments. In support of these objectives, the budget commitment in total to this effort consolidated from all departments within social sector amounts to 44.4 billion. The budget makes an allocation for the social development centers that are driving poverty reduction initiatives. The province will ensure that food security efforts by the Department of Agriculture and Rural Development are harnessed, and to this end an allocation of 10 million has been made available. Honorable Speaker, efforts to expand and ensure that our healthcare services are accessible in areas that previously had no healthcare facilities will be enhanced to ensure services reach the most vulnerable in our communities. The province will continue to work with all stakeholders, inclusive of all traditional and municipal councils, in addressing water challenges in the province. The provincial government will continue to support municipalities to regularly update its indigent register, which are key in identifying individuals and households that require government support. The province will ensure internet connectivity in all public buildings, especially those in remote areas such as libraries, healthcare centers, schools, and social development centers, which remain key service delivery points of government, which should or will be accessible to the public. This access will translate in our people having access to information and can promote or unlock access to economic opportunities. The donor funding drive will be aggressively pursued in line with the EXCO decision. The fund will be raised in partnership with private sector to support social sector initiatives. Honorable Speaker, given the challenges experienced by our public entities, the Provincial Treasury has commenced with financial viability assessment project focusing on public entities. A pilot is currently being run for the Northwest Development Corporation and its subsidiaries. The projects aim to identify financial weaknesses with a view of developing concrete implementable turnaround strategies. The project is expected to be completed in June 2025. Provincial internal audit will continue to ensure the institutionalization of combined assurance in all departments. This coordinated approach will involve management, internal auditors, and external assurance providers. Honorable Speaker, for 2025-2026 financial year, the Provincial Treasury will have a heightened focus on enhancing planning, monitoring, and execution of infrastructure projects. A critical part of this effort will be ensuring the consistency and reliability of information in infrastructure plans, including the user asset management plan, the infrastructure program management plan, and the infrastructure reporting model. These planning tools are essential for aligning infrastructure investments with service delivery needs. Honorable Speaker, the National Treasury is currently leading the process of the development of regulations towards the implementation of the Public Procurement Act of 2024. Upon implementation, this act will be a good catalyst in the transformation of society using public procurement as a strategic enabler. Once the Public Procurement Act is implemented, all provincial organs of state will be expected to not only procure in accordance with this regulation, but also review their procurement policies, including their preferential procurement strategies. This will allow public procurement to be used to stimulate economic growth and development in particular geographical areas as defined in this Act. The Act will further allow for set-asides, pre-qualification, and use of subcontractors as a condition of a bid to transform society and conduct procurement in a manner that inter alia promotes innovation, sustainable development, and environmental rights. Honorable Speaker, the budget proposals being tabled before you forms a blueprint for a new era of inclusive growth and transformation. They acknowledge the constraints we face, yet they are unapologetic in their ambition to break the chains of economic stagnation and social despair. In the words of Thomas Sankara, everything that man can imagine, he is capable of creating. Today, we reaffirm our belief that a Northwest province free from poverty, inequality, and corruption is not an impossible dream, but an achievable reality. Working together with clear purpose and unwavering resolve, we can transform this vision into reality. However, this vision will only materialize if we stand united across political divides, beyond ideological differences, driven by a singular purpose to build a province that works for all its people. This moment requires us to act decisively, to govern with integrity, and to ensure that every policy, every rand spent, and every program implemented serves the greater good of our people. Let us move forward as one people, determined to leave no one behind. I therefore wish to express my gratitude to the people of the province for a motion of confidence once more by voting the African National Congress to continue with the transformation and developmental agenda. The ANC in the province, under the leadership of its provincial chairperson, Dumile Maloi, remains committed to a better life for all, and we believe it is within reach. I therefore, Honorable Speaker, table the Appropriation Bill 2025, the estimates of provincial revenue and expenditure, the 2025 budget, and the socio-economic revenue outlook. Honorable Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable MEC Musenuchi. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, honorable members. Thank you. The bill stand referred to Portfolio Committee on Premier and Finance for scrutiny and further processes. I wish to appreciate and acknowledge the presence of our learners from our institutions. This is the trend that we are going to follow every time we have a sitting, because we believe that this young mind must have a better understanding what is government and how should government be run, because they are our future. So every time in the sitting we'll have learners from TVET, from the university, and those in schools, MEC, who are doing the relevant subject to what the MEC is doing. That's the trend that we have adopted. I further want to thank and appreciate Bomari Khosi, the Bomari Khosana, Boruna. Yesterday in the opening of the house, Mahosi committed that because they continue with the program, Bomari Khosi will join us. Bomarona Rale Buha. You are welcome. I finally want to thank and appreciate